Good morning. My name is Irene Otter.
What would you like to talk about this morning?
I was hoping to talk about the residential school survivors healing program here in Waswanipi.
Yeah. And what do you do in that program?
It's run by Public Health, by Lily Sutherland, and we started way back in 1997 looking for ways to help people on their healing path from the things that happened to them in residential schools. So we started with going back to the school. The first one we went back to was Brantford, which we used to be called Nushhole. We took a busload of people there to start our journey. And it was a busload full of people from Waswanipi only. And we went there for a few days. They had ceremonies and told our stories, and they had different activities for us to participate in while we were there. And it was during the summer. And from then on, after that, we have different little activities every year, conferences, healing circles. We try to think of different things to help people on their healing journey. Traditional or Anglican or Pentecostal. We had tried to include everybody in what we do. Not looking just at one group of people. Because we're one community, that's the way we looked at everything when we're talking about the residential school survivors.
Yeah, maybe could you tell us maybe the story of what kind of, I heard some people's reaction when they see the building. What kind of reaction does people have? Maybe you could tell us if you've seen some people.
Well, when we went to Brantford, some people were wondering if the people that used to work there were buried near the chapel where we went to church. It was an Anglican church, and they wanted to know where the people were buried. So we went to the Anglican church to go and visit it, to see what it looked like. And we were told there was not anyone there buried that was working at the residential school. So some of them were saying that if they had found it, they would have stomped on it and dug it up and broken the bones, and they said all kinds of things. Well, it was kind of making a joke out of it, but you could see it was helping them get some of the garbage out the way they were talking.
Yeah. I guess to get frustrations out.
And they were, when we went to the little school, there was a school there, elementary school. Some of them wanted to go see where the classrooms were and different things. But the school was turned into a museum. And they showed all kinds of things in there, like were mostly Mohawk history. So the school was called Mohawk Indian Residential School. That's what it was called. So there was different activities in there where we could look at videos and things like that. So it wasn't so bad for them because they didn't have to go towards the classrooms where they used to be. But you could go look down the hall, but you couldn't go in the halls. And in the residential school, we could visit only certain areas. And one of the reactions that I saw, there was a whistle that the house mother used to blow, or the house parents, or I don't know, there's different names for them, but we used to call them house mother. They used to blow a whistle to let us know it's supper time, or it's time to come in, or different things, because you couldn't yell. It was a big place when you were outside, especially. So when you hear the whistle, you had to come in. So I happened to find the whistle in the kitchen, and I blew it. And one of the girls got mad and walked away went out towards where we had the table set up. And when we all came back out, she said, "You shouldn't have blown that." It just brought like a flash from the past to her, and she didn't like the feeling, and I had to apologize. And there was a little ceremony that we had to do there, like where you write down something and you put it in the fire with the tobacco, or you could release it in a balloon. And she wrote something about that. She had to let that go.
So did you? I guess a lot of people. I guess after facing building, some people must have felt, I guess, some kind of healing, I guess, for some, or some did it traumatize them again, or did some people like that experience to go there, or they didn't like it?
Well, when we looked at the people that went, it was mostly people that had started their healing journey. This was another step towards their healing. So most of them were a little bit emotional, but not, I can't say they were traumatized all over again, but some of them were okay, you know, because they've already started. Some of them were a long way towards their healing. So it seemed like some of them were not so traumatized. And they went through all the different things we had to go visit. And we did have a talking, like a circle outside where we could share with whomever we wanted to share our feelings with. And there were people there, support workers there for us if we needed to speak to someone.
So I heard there was few, I don't know how many there, but there was some that they still cannot walk in that building. Is there some people that still totally cannot face to go in there?
Yes, I know there are some in the community. When we spoke about going back to the residential school for some of them to start their healing journey, absolutely did not want to go back. They said, never, I will never step in there again, no matter how far, even when I get old, I'll never go back in there. I said, sometimes it's different ways to your healing. Either you go back and revisit something, or find someone else, something, or someone to help you.
Some people like move forward. They don't want to look back in the past. Everybody's different. I would like to ask you, how was your experience? How was it, your experience? What was the positive things and what was the issues?
When I went to school, I always had someone looking after me because we were junior, intermediate, and senior. So I always had someone looking after me, so I didn't have too much, I didn't see too much bad things. I didn't experience too many bad things because I always had somebody with me. The only one I remember was this girl used to come and beat up on the young ones. And that was the worst, not the worst one of the bad experiences I had. But then in the other way, the one that used to look after me would always come and talk to her, or one time threatened to beat her if she kept trying to beat up on me. And that stopped. And the other one was when my late mother tried to come and visit me because my parents were separated when I was very young. So she tried to come and visit me, and they wouldn't let her because I was under my father's guardianship. I don't know what they call that. And there was a paper that the Indian Affairs, I believe it was them anyway, had written that my mother was not allowed to visit me. So that was something I had to deal with from that time on till I could talk to my mother and exchange what she felt for us to go on our healing path together. So that was something, that one.
How many years did you attend? Did you?
I started in 1963, I believe it was, and I left in 1969. And that was a time when it was changing. We had more choice to choose where we wanted to go to school. And I chose to go to school in Rouen, Noranda.
Oh, you had that? You had a choice?
I was given a choice by my father because he was the one told me, I give you a choice now because you're allowed to go to another school.
Yeah, I heard Hawaii, was it on for a long time, that school?
In Rouen, I was in a private home. It was a very nice place to stay.
Better than the residential?
Better than the residential school. I had more support from the family I was living with. to really, go to school and get an education and things like that. And if I had a problem, I could share it with them. Whereas in the residential school, there was hardly anybody to talk to, only your age group, or if you had an aunt or cousin or somebody you could share something with. That was the only way we could really share. I couldn't share anything with my brother because he was on the boys' side. There was a girls' side and a boys' side.
So they were separated.
So we were separated right there, and most of our lives we were like living. We're brother and sister, but the relationship was disconnected when we were in residential school. So we had a hard time reconnecting, even with my own family, from being separated from home. You have to try to find that connection, but sometimes it takes a long time. Like my father, when I used to come home, he was working somewhere else, so we could not connect. It was hard to connect. But with time, I worked on myself first to try to find healing. How can I help my family, help myself, reconnect? It took a long time. And my father had a stroke, and he couldn't talk. But I always told him what I thought, and I always explained to him what I was doing in my life and where I'm going to go with what I'm doing. Whatever came in when I came back to Waswanipi, I was asked to try and help with this healing path for residential school survivors. Because I had been on mine for so many years, I was asked, would you mind coming and helping us? How did you help yourself? How come you're so happy? How come you're so want to help people? I said, because I know where I've been, where I went, and where I want to be, and where I'm going. So I said, it's easier to help someone when you've already started. You can't help anyone if you haven't even started somewhere. It's harder to come and say to somebody, you got to stop drinking. If you've never done that, and if you're not sober, how can you lecture someone or help someone on a subject that you haven't even tried yourself?
Experience too.
Experience and knowledge and all these things.
Yeah. So did you eventually, you and your dad, reconnect, or did you guys connect at the end, or?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You wanted to reconnect the way you wanted to reconnect, or?
Yes, because when he came to a point where he couldn't help himself or speak for himself, I asked him who he would like to help him. And when I stepped in, I helped him on his trap line. I helped him with his health needs, where he wanted to be, all these different things that you have to look at when you get old and you're sick. Well, you need lots of help.
Well, thank you very much for sharing this story with us. It was a nice story that you shared with us, and it was a great, experience and what we learned from it. So thank you very much, Irene, for this interview.
I thank you.